Good afternoon, everyone. So in this time and age where we talk about strategic partnerships and also cross-industry alliances, today we have the stalwarts wherein who would throw light on how this collaborations and industry alliances benefits not only their brands, but also increases the reach among the industry around they have collaborated with. So we have Deepak Chhabra. Let's start with him. As the retail landscape, continues to grow, to evolve, how important is it, for the retailers to embrace collaborations and innovations through strategic partnerships?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Imran, and good afternoon, everyone. So, as a brand, you have many things to do. Not necessarily that you have to do everything yourself, and the same applies to a retailer. And that's where strategic partnership come into picture. It's a time when we're talking about a global village. We should see what is your core strength, and rest of other things you need to look for, partnership which bring a lot of value for yourself and the partners. So absolutely, at this point in time, when retail, especially retail, is competitive and difficult, you have to ensure that you tie up with the right partners who bring a lot of value. So the whole thing is, you don't have to dig the well for everything. Maybe your core strength could be the brand, your core strength could be distribution, your core strength could be manufacturing or supply chain. You have to identify that and see, what are the gaps which somebody else can fill, and you create value for the other partner as they create value for you. So I see it's imperative to look for strategic partnership to be successful. It will help you, go to market faster. It will give you reach, and you can tap into the consumer base of other partners so that similarly they can. So it's more of symbiotic relationship, and it's absolutely necessary to look for strategic partnership to be successful.
Right. Pallavi, let me ask you, you're one of the, successfully celebrity-led brand in India, right? So, what are the challenges of, crafting a celeb-inspired brand in India?
Good afternoon, everyone. Before I get to talking about the challenges, I'd rather use an anecdote to explain why celebrity brands fail and why, like, so many of them have not survived the time. It was only recently that I was working on a new proposition with a very interested investor and a very keen platform as a partner, and a top-rated celebrity from sports, and would reached a very advanced stage into the deal. And if I had it my way, we would have launched it by now, and we would be talking about it on the stage. But it fell through. Now, it fell through because of unreal expectations from the celebrity. It fell through because the involvement was not coming at a very deep level, because there is a very thin line between a celebrity-owned brand and a celebrity-endorsed brand. It just takes one step for you to tread on either side, and it creates a whole lot of confusion in the consumer's mind. The biggest challenge is to manage this, and this is not just for the managing team or the operational partner. This applies to the celebrity himself or herself. That is, how true can they be to the business, to the brand? How true can they be in terms of their availability, their involvement, their understanding? So I guess that's the biggest thing that we have achieved in case of HRX, where I have to give it to the gentleman. Hrithik is thoroughly involved. He's always been a very, the kernel of the business, rather, so much so that he has foregone a lot of things early on in his career, because HRX is 10 years old. And fashion and retail category fetches the maximum amount of revenue for any top star in India. So this was foregone long back to ensure that we don't give out mixed messaging to the consumers in terms of what he owns and what he endorses. And that is the kind of, one investment is liquid money putting in the business, and one investment is kind of foregoing your opportunity cost along with the sweat you put in. I guess all of that is very, very important. The other big challenge is the structuring, and I was earlier just talking about how important is it to structure a celebrity brand right, because there is no instant gratification for anyone when you set out to make a brand, much like any other business or any other entrepreneurial journey where you don't see money for many, many years to come. Once there is no instant gratification, there are many, many challenges which are thrown at you. So it's very important to structure it in a way that you can kind of stay afloat. You can continue putting in your persistent hours, persistent efforts, both at the celebrity and at the team end, to ensure that you will see or taste success at the end of it all. So these are the two biggest ones, I feel.
Right. Let me ask Resha about the cross-industry alliances, right? In exploring cross-industry alliances, what are some of the innovative collaborations or approaches that Giva has taken? And, how do you leverage on these trends that, cross-industry alliances offer to you?
Yeah, actually, it's a very interesting space, cross-industry alliances. Firstly, of course, when we are doing these, we look at partners who have the same sort of ethos. So if we want to bring a lot of value to the customers, we want to center our campaigns and our brand language is centered around a lot of warmth, a lot of love, a lot of joy. And we want to partner with brands who also have a similar thing to offer. We recently did something which I thought really worked out well for us for both Diwali and Raksha Bandhan, which are very major gifting events and also events where, Giva comes in as a very good proposition. We partnered with people as far and as different as, say, Anand Sweets, because across the country, we could design hampers that could be gifted, that could be bought, whether it's for, like, say, for Rakhi, it could be for the brother, it could be for the sister. And even for Diwali, it became something very, very successful because, again, all of us are getting into homes where this is an occasion to celebrate. So we really go after creating value for the end consumer, understanding what is a complementary brand in terms of how we can structure it. And we are working with many formats, So we are working right now with a fashion player to be able to also, if they buy from either of us, to be able to give them styling tips, like, this is in the works right now, and to then also give them a proposition and they can buy our product or their product at a certain kind of. So there are many types of things that we're doing here and very interesting space.
Right. We also see that licensing and merchandising is also a great opportunity wherein brands can leverage on. Anvita, who's from Goldmine Animations and who's a creator of Chhota Bheem, the character gained a huge traction among brands, right? So, how do you, how does a brand can leverage on the popularity of Chhota Bheem as a character and, expand into the retail, overall retail segment?
Good afternoon, everyone. So Green Gold Animation is an animation studio. Like at the same time, we have our own IP called Chhota Bheem, and you can say this is the first homegrown IP which has become so big because most of us grew up watching international characters like Mickey and Warner and He-Man and all those. So now it's been 15 years. We still call ourselves a young brand. And any point of time, we are working with 100 plus partners and in all sizes. It's not like we are open to work with startups, we are open to work with multinationals because the Chhota Bheem lends itself beautifully with most of the brands. And if I have to quote some example, which we have done out of the box. See, we do regular categories like apparel, footwear, accessories, which any licensing brand does. But since we are a homegrown brand and we are very flexible, so we have done some very iconic alliances. Like for last year, we did one very interesting alliance with Singapore Tourism. So Singapore Tourism wanted to attract Indian families come and have good time in Singapore. So we created, say, 10 to 12 mini series with Chhota Bheem and friends. Through storytelling, we were talking about the popular places of Singapore, shopping in Singapore, food in Singapore. So that was run very successfully. So one way is Singapore, then second, I will talk about the Chhattisgarh government. So Chhattisgarh government came and asked us that what interesting we can do for the Swachhata Abhiyan with taking Bhim as a mascot, you know. We created a very beautiful comic for them, which they distributed in all the schools, talking about the cleanliness in school, cleanliness in home, neighborhood, and then Modi was also kind of inaugurated that comic. So these two are the opposite ends, but this is how we kind of we keep looking for such alliances, you know. Another one, if I have to give you that, finance is one category where very few people will go and take any character like, you know, but we have done with ICICI Bank that teach finance early in kids' life. So they have launched Chota Beam based debit cards. So if kid goes and opens the account, he can choose from 50 odd designs of Chota Beam debit cards, and they teach about the basic finance around through storytelling.
So, how do you look at the potential growth of, such omni-channel collaborations, Deepak? I mean,
So, first of all, we need to be sure that we have to be where the consumer is. Yeah, so you have to serve the consumer wherever they are. And then you need to see, as I said, you need to know your core competencies. So core competency, for example, for us lies in, I'll give you a few examples how the collaboration has worked and where we found that somebody else can do a better job. We are an analog manufacturer, yeah? So we make traditional analog watches, but the market was ripe for smartwatches. So what we did was, we did a strategic tie-up with a Singapore company to develop smartwatches for us. And today, our smartwatch business is about 12% of our revenue. The reverse of it, we are very strong in our analog watches. So we started making watches for many other brands, fashion brands. For example, we make watches for Wrong brand. We make watches for Alan Solly, Peter England, many others. So it's more of, how do you give the experience with your core competencies? Another thing, on the DTC, if I have to talk about, so we were discussing amongst ourselves, influencer is something which is big, but is it viable? Because the cost of influencer management is too high. So what we have something which is called, marketing commerce, wherein the influencer, it becomes a partner. So that's another strategic, association which comes as a symbiotic relationship. So you use the codes, the revenue generated, you get a part of it. So that's another one which has been pretty successful for us. So I think there are a lot more opportunities, but we have to be open for the things which we feel some strategic partner can do a better job. One last example I give, about 40 years back, as a group, we are a house of brands. So we have brands like Versace, Guess and all. About 40 years back, Guess was only apparel brand. And that's where we got into a strategic relationship with them, started making watches. Today, watches is the second biggest category for them. Yeah, they don't know even today how the watches are made, but they have the brand. We know how the watches are designed, developed, and manufactured. So there are so many examples of strategic tie-up where we bring value for each other and get benefited in the end. Yeah, these are a few examples, I would say.
right. I think, storytelling is also an important part wherein, how brands can leverage on the emotional connection. I'll ask to Pallavi, how much does the power of storytelling create an emotional connection with the consumers? And what role does it play in creating a cohesive and immersive retail experience?
Hamara business thrives on storytelling because at the center of it all, I have somebody who's a storyteller. Yeah. And there is no compromising the best possible way of utilizing him. Well, of course, I mean, you know how we say India still believes in ABC, stories sell, astrology, Bollywood, cricket, and now D discounts. We all buy stories. We barely buy products. My story is that if that gentleman with 6 packs, 8 packs, wears a cap or a certain yellow t-shirt and can look a certain way, and if that can instill a certain sense of belief, aspiration, motivation in an average Indian saying, कुछ तो पहन लेता हूँ, मैं भी ऐसा दिख सकता हूँ. I mean, that's the essence of my brand, and that's what we thrive on. As far as the storytelling, how do you stay consistent with it? The process of storytelling is concerned. It's the same boring thing that you wake up and do every day. I think consistency is extremely important. The only time you can establish your storytelling process right is if you say the same thing over and over again every day without fail. And that's what I do. You have to identify, first of all, who are you speaking with, and then you can't keep switching back and forth. So, for example, a conscious call at HRX is that we're not speaking to Gen Z at this point in time. We're still speaking to the 25 to 45 fitness enthusiast, the everyday athlete, which means hum Bharat ke liye hai. I am not for the athletes. I'm not going for the guys who shave off 5 seconds, 6 seconds, or who sprint, make it to the podiums. We're not for them. We're for the average Indian who's setting the alarm clock, waking up every morning, setting out for a walk, or trying to do something, take ownership of their health and fitness in some way. And we have not moved an inch from that positioning. We've not changed the definition of our target group. It continues to be the everyday athlete, people who are in the process of transforming themselves. It's for the transformative process. It's not for the proficiency in sports and athletics. So storytelling, yes, I have somebody who has to be the storyteller of the country. Therefore, we did associations like Fighter. I mean, his recent movie, if anybody would have noticed, HRX was seamlessly integrated into the story because he's a pilot in the movie. The narrative is such that it fits with the brand, and I had to be there. So storytelling, we don't miss any opportunity. Consistency, every day we say the same thing. We don't move away from who we are speaking with. The cohort, the group doesn't change. But as far as translating the storytelling to the retail experience is concerned, well, we're still learning. I don't think we've cracked it. Anybody who's been to an HRX store will probably resonate with what I'm saying. Digitally, we have a very strong story, but retail is another animal, and all of us are in the learning process. Inshallah, sooner or later, we will crack that. We'll figure out how does that transform at a retail experiential level, but that is something that we're still learning. The initial feelers are that you really need to put your brand out, put your brand out there for people to touch and feel. So it's great to open the stores, but you can't fall short on what you stand for. And like I said, we're still kind of at a phase in that learning curve where we have not really cracked it for the retail environs. But digital, yes, I mean, that's the essence of the brand.
Yeah, talking about films, I mean, Giva as well collaborated with Jawan, right? How does that make you different from other competitors in the market? Does it create a product differentiation? How does that collaboration works for you?
We collaborated with Jawan. We've worked with many other formats, whether it's a TVF you see or shows you see. There are many placements that we do in many formats. And it's not only Giva, a lot of people are doing it. Now, with product differentiation, it was a ring that we collaborated with, So I don't think the product is different. But what happens is you try and create a differentiation in terms of the experience. I think that's what we wanted to do. When a Shah Rukh Khan proposes with your ring, I mean, that's an experience you're trying to create on screen. It also resonates with this whole larger thing that you're trying to do with trying to make the brand resonate for occasions such as these where you use our products for your special moments. So I think the larger story that you build out and the brand promise that you're working after, any placement has to work towards it. Only then does it become meaningful placement. Otherwise, you could keep placing different things in different places and it won't work out. But we are very sure of how we see our products being used by whom and in what context, whether it be in any medium, in any format at all. So films are great, especially, I mean, of course, this turned out to be a solid thing that we collaborated on. But I think this happens across mediums.
So, Deepak, how do you look at this trend? I mean, do you see this trend growing in terms of, people, it was during COVID that people stopped going to cinemas, and the collaborations that brands did, stopped. Do you think now it has doubled up because there was a long pause behind? And how do you look at this trend growing in India?
So, see, being a retailer, you have to be efficient. Running retail is not like a lot of money flows in your bottom line. You have to be efficient every hour, every day, every month. Then only you can make money. So the partnership with the companies or other cross-domain, partners will always be relevant, because if you are not efficient at retail or at a brand level, you will not make money, and you cannot be good with everything. So I think this is a reality, COVID, post-COVID, or any time. And more importantly, I also, I can share with you that we have to see what a consumer want. Actually, when we talk about online and offline, all those, the challenges between how do we manage both of them for the consumer base. Consumer actually needs a wide variety of the products, probably at the same place, and even beyond one category. And that's where, the online becomes a bit more relevant. So, say for example, why not sell, watches at a jewelry store? What stops? Why should my competition doesn't sell at my stores, or vice versa? I think these are the things which will bring a lot of efficiency. I also remember in Bangalore, when you go to, speciality, it doesn't work in retail. There was a mall which opened, which decided that all the brands which will come in that mall will be all women specific. The mall bombed. Yeah, so it's more of seeing what a consumer wants and giving the solutions and bringing your operating cost down and bringing value for each other. That's more important. I think the most important thing is you should bring value for each other, and that's how that will work. For the longest time, we have remained, I don't know, the reason could be the trust or, my database, which I don't want to share. We have remained secured. I am running my business, somebody else is running their business, where we know we actually have a potential symbiotic relationship which will benefit, both the partners. Yeah, so somewhere I feel we have made some progress, and this is a moment of truth and should continue if we want to be successful as a retailer, as a brand. Yeah, I don't think we can build efficiencies by being, isolated and everybody building brands and the products on their own. You will never be able to make money, So this is a time when we should see how we can give consumer an experience which is truly omni-channel, even if it means you are selling your product at a competition location, and vice versa is happening. So I think that's the truth, and it will continue for the longest time. We have to make more strides. Rather, we have to go aggressive in doing these.
Yeah, I'll come back to you, Deepak. First, let me go to Pallavi. Pallavi, lately we are seeing a rise of premiumization in India, right? India is driving on premiumization wave. So, do you think limited edition collections, like that like Timex does, or even you do? So, do you think this will become a trend, and this will not only increase your reach, but also will be key revenue driver in the years to come?
Imran, on that, on limited editions, I feel they are never the key revenue drivers. They're a great sort of avenue for marketing, because what is the objective in marketing? It's constantly to drive newer cohorts into your business, right? The attempt of any marketer today is to drive traffic from sort of various communities, various sectors. How do you keep building that up is a constant challenge in today's day and age. These limited editions, for us particularly, and I'm assuming it will be true for most of the brands, they serve two purposes. One is to bring a newer audience. By achieving these collaborations, you hope and you wish and you pray that they succeed by bringing you the audience from, let's say, the other partner, the other brand, or the franchise into you, and the cross-selling as well. And also you try raising your ASPs, because I think by offering something extra, something exclusive, there is this little bit of a margin to command some sort of a premium. So it helps in not really premiumization, but probably pushing your ASP a little bit more. So for us, like the fighter collaboration was a great way of bringing the fanfare into the brand world, right? Like I cater to the sports enthusiasts, to the runners, and there is about a 17% overall audience size, which happens to be the fandom of Hrithik. How do I expand this? Because there is potential at times when you're launching such a big franchise like Fighter, and you know the nation is going to go berserk watching it, why not? So you have to be very selective about these things, and you have to also see um, the kind of adjacencies you're driving your audience from. So it can't be completely, either you were completely quirky and do things that have never been done before, so people are in awe, struck with awe, and they land and they view, and the campaign becomes a super hit. Or you figure and evaluate the adjacencies and get the next best set of kind of untapped audience into the brand. So for us, it's driving the ASPs and marketing.
So, Deepak, how has Timex, leveraged on the premiumization wave in India? I mean, how do you look at this trend, and will it continue?
Yeah, I think this will continue. Post-COVID, people are indulging more. They are spending more. They want to live today rather than save a lot of money for tomorrow. And we have seen it across all our brands. The most premium brand which we have in our portfolio is Versace. We have seen 4x growth in 1.5 years. Yeah, and all other brands are also seeing ASPs, becoming higher. People are indulging. They are indulging more frequently. They are spending money in what makes them happy, what makes them, feel good about themselves. And I don't think this will, ever go back. It may settle down a bit. We are Indians after all. We have a habit of saving, but the saving, will continue. But I don't think we'll ever go back and start, saving to the extent which we used to do before COVID. So premiumization is there, and it's gonna be there. That's what I feel.
Right. Anvita, I'll come to you. The way brands narrate their storylines, the characters that collaborate, I mean, they get into collaborations and licensing deals. So, how important it is for a good storyline for a character like Chhota Bhim, and what insights do you get after collaborating with brands?
So when we are collaborating with brand, it's very important that uh, the brand strategy the brand has can be fulfilled through the what they are emphasizing through our character. I will answer this through an example, which will as I said, that regular products, Chota Beam, extend itself very well, say for a breakfast cereal or apparel or whichever kids related product. We tied up with a brand called Asian Paints. Everybody knows, but Asian Paint is something which is if you think Chota Beam and Asian Paints, it's little far fetched. But they did some very interesting things along with Chota Beam that they did first when they were launching the range with Chota Beam. They did dealer meet, which was Dholakpur themed. So, and these dealers are adult; they are not kids. But it was a pleasant surprise for them when they entered into dealer meet and they saw such a colorful, venue, and the theme was all kiddie. They became also kid, and it's a serious business. So immediately they hooked the dealers to sell that product to the next level, kids or the parents of the kids. Then second thing, what they did very interesting is that after rolling out the product in the market, they did a campaign saying that you do a Chota Beam based theme in your room, and your kid can feature in Chota Beam serial as a character. So one boy and one girl they selected, and we animated them along with the Chota Beam serial. So these kind of out of the box things, we think then the brand get hooked to the concept, and they think beyond the regular marketing or a regular just printed on the product, or just take the mascot and just do the regular stuff. So these kind of things we keep doing.
So, forming collaborations and alliances is an important part for brands wherein the brand value has to be identified, right? So, what kind of potential, collaborations that you look into, and how do you identify that, we have to go ahead with such collaborations?
So for us, collaborations are a larger part of the brand building and the brand storytelling. So the first thing that we look at, of course, I think for anyone to understand how you want to do this is very important. Identifying your values, then identifying partner brands or strategic partners who also function in the same with the same set of values. This is extremely important. Once that is there, then do we have a kind of partnership which will bring value to the audience? That's incredibly important. Basically, the idea is to know yourself well, to define how you want to grow, where you want to be, what do you want to be identified for, and who are you working for. Like Pallavi said, the target audience is extremely important. Knowing what is your core messaging, storytelling, product is extremely important, and also identifying partners which bring the same thing to the table. And that's how we largely pick out our partners. How we are doing these collaborations are we are trying to choose things from across the board partners, whether it's even celebrities, like, whether we launch capsule collections with a Bhumi Pednekar or whoever, we are trying to make sure that we are coming from to it with a lot of authenticity.
So, last question from my side. What challenges, do retailers face, Deepak, when forming cross-industry alliances? How can they overcome these barriers to cultivate fruitful partnerships?
Yeah, I think the value generation for each other is the key. When this is identified that I'm creating value for you, you are creating value for me, I think that's the best thing which works. So if one partner feels I'm not getting the value in the partnership as good as the other, that's one of the barrier. The second barrier is, what about my database? I'm not very, everything is about database. When it comes to one retailer to another retailer of a different, domain or category, it's like the safety security of my database. Will it be there? The third is we are very comfortable when it comes to technology partners or strategic tie-up or say supply chain strategic initiative, because we know we do not understand that much, but we are still concerned and remain very pessimistic when it comes to sales and distribution in retail, or maybe even marketing. We don't want to collaborate. We want to do it on our own, which is actually eating into the productivity of the retailers industry. We want to do it ourselves. Everybody wants to do it ourselves, rather than saying, okay, how we can collaborate together, give more value to the consumer, more ease, more benefits, when we save in the cost of running retail. So somewhere I feel we have to stop doing same thing by all of us. Wherever there is a value generation, we are non-competing, but we are complementing brands or complementing categories. We should look at how I can pool up the resources, how I can pool up my consumer base, because what I'm selling is not going to compete with the partner whom I'm working with. But somewhere still we continue digging the different wells all the time. We haven't done that in technology because we know I need partners. We haven't done that in our supply chain because I know I need a 3PL partner. I don't want to do it myself. But when it comes to the consumer facing, whether it is sales, retail, or marketing, we are still very conservative. Somewhere we are holding back. I think these are, till the time we don't start building trust, I think there's a deficiency of trust. And we also believe that I can do it myself more efficient, which is never the case. A consumer doesn't want that. If consumer wanted that, department stores won't be there. Hypermarkets won't be there. If they wanted always a single brand separately, and that is where everything is going high, operating cost is going high, because all of us are trying to do the same thing, but in isolation. But there are challenge of profitability when the real estate is going high, the cost of running retail is high. We somewhere have to see value in bringing together the efforts and the resources and the consumer bases to deliver a much higher, indulgent experience to the consumer and reducing the cost. Yeah, and that's where the struggle is. I think the larger struggle remains on trust. I'm not very sure what will happen to my data. I can do it myself. Why should I do it with that partner? Until unless we are forced to do it, just like technology, because I don't know how will I create a POS system myself. Yeah, so that's what I feel, and there's a long journey ahead for this.
Sure. With this thought, let's go to the audience with questions. Yeah, please.
Check, 1, 2. To the audience, a humble request to kindly keep your questions very short, and we will be taking only one question for this panel. Can we have the mic being handed over, please?
Thank you. In continuation to what you were saying, Deepak, you spoke about the want to do it all by yourself, but I see another aspect to this, and correct me if I'm wrong. All of you represent some really big brands here. Is it also that retailers are expanding into other arenas? Like for me, an HRX is a sports brand. They can make their own smartwatch tomorrow. They may not tie up or associate with Timex. Giva is already building jewelry, but they have bracelets and watches that come as jewelry. So there's a lot of, very thin lines between where collaborations will work, where they want, and what if we want to do it ourselves tomorrow. So a little on that, please.
Yeah, as I said, we need to identify our core competency. Yeah. So when I had to make a smart watch, although we have been making watches for 170 years, but we never made a smart watch. So I went to a partner who understand it better. Similarly, one of the key initiatives for this year, what we have taken is reaching out to fashion retailers. Watches is a automatic extension for them. It's an accessory. Now it's a fashion accessory rather than a timekeeping device. But you are right. I do see a lot of resistance there, which I don't understand, because as a retailer, watches delivers to a higher ASP. It needs the smallest space, and doesn't cannibalize with any of your things which you are selling. Whether you're selling footwear, you are selling jewelry, you are selling apparel. But somewhere you are right. It is a mindset wherein I just want to hold on to what I am doing, and if I will ever do it, I'll do it myself. If you do it yourself, fantastic, but that is where the challenge remains. That collaboration, it will come at a huge cost. You may have to invest more on resources. May have to set up a manufacturing for it. You may have to invest capex on that, and still it may not sell. So similarly, for example, for me as a brand, I'm not a retailer as such. Yeah, so we go for franchisee, because they understand retail more than that. So somewhere we'll have to be open and say, my core competency is something else, and I should actually, if I want to grow my business, I should look for partners who can deliver me end-to-end solution. One last thing on that, on watches, there is a very peculiar, dynamics. The sale doesn't end by selling the watch. It has an after-sale service, yeah? So any brand who wants to do it will struggle, if not in the journey till manufacturing and selling, but in after-sale service. So somewhere, I do see that resistance, and we have to work together. Maybe we were not able to, show the value we can bring. But as I said, for guests, we are doing it for 40 years. That's number 2 category for them. After handbags, apparel is not the top. Watches is number 2. We could do it for, ABFRL brands. We sell about 1 million watches for them. 1 million watches. They never knew how the watch is made. We sold the concept, and now they sell 1 million watches a year, where design, development, manufacturing, and after-sales service, of course, sales is handled by them. Similarly, we have taken those initiatives, and I still feel this is the way to go forward. If you want to make money from retail, either you improve your your conversion, or you add more categories to your brand, which can give you an add-on business and increase your, average selling price or a basket size. So that's where it is, yeah.
Could you please share your name?
Sorry, I think we were in a rush. My name is Karuna.
Please say that again.
Karuna.
Karuna. Yeah. Karuna, you brought up HRX. We do make watches, and we are partnered with Noise. HRX, as a business, I don't consider myself a product company, although I am. I consider myself to be in the services sector, because the product is best left to the experts. And we've never ever gotten into the product ourselves. I think it stems from the fact that we've identified what business are we in, number one. More than the do's, we know our don'ts. It's the entry barrier that Deepak spoke about, obviously very high, but I've realized I can potentially grow my business by identifying the right set of categories and growing in that direction with the help of an accomplished partner. Then why reinvent the wheel? Why bring in those kind of investments and block the money, not just my money, but an investor money, when there is already somebody doing and there is sort of similar wavelength existent in terms of wanting to collaborate and grow. So we've done exactly that. And not just for watches, but this is across the category for all the products where we've tied up with the domain experts. So I have grooming with Baccaros, apparel fashion with Myntra, value segment with Flipkart, food with Eat Fit, gyms with Cult. And in a way, we've ended up creating a partner pool with the best of businesses in our country, technically, the domain experts. And with God's grace, it's all doing very well. And like Deepak said, the revenues are stacking up. So I guess it's recognizing what you can't do more than knowing what you can do. So we're certain that some things should be left to the businesses which are their core competencies and the makers of that.